It's time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. We have with us here in the studio Emmanuel Aziken. He is a columnist with Vanguard and former political editor at Vanguard. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Aziken, bright and early, to review the papers together.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, we begin with our sister publication This Day. Just run through the headlines. The big story this morning in Edo State, Obaseki, PDP may not sign peace accord because police are acting in APC's interest. Party wants Wike's REC associate withdrawn. INEC to mop up uncollected PVCs. And police has deployed 35,000 men, 8,000 others in Edo State. The leading photo there from the Nigerian Economic Summit. They visited the State Arise office in Lagos, talking about unlocking Nigeria's underperforming $14 trillion assets to drive national prosperity. This is just ahead of the 30th anniversary of the summit, which will be held in October here in Abuja. After Borno's flooding catastrophe, federal government gives 3 billion naira to each state to tackle disaster. How far will that go? Labour Party asks NSA EFCC to probe Peter Obi, Yusufu Itua Igodalo over party's campaign funds. Mr. Aziken, let's begin in Edo State. They have that peace accord signing today, just ahead of that election next Saturday, September 21. Now, Obaseki is saying, look, PDP may not sign that accord. Why? They say they want Wike's REC, that's the former River State governor and now FCT minister. They want his REC associate withdrawn. They're saying that, look, the police deployed are working for the APC. Now, what are your thoughts on this story, and also how the political conquest in River State is now moving over to Edo State?
The political conquest in River State now moving over to Edo State. You remember that a week or two ago, the FCT minister warned PDP governors that he will make their states ungovernable if they continue to interfere in the affairs of his state. Peradventure, or perhaps the warning is now coming to fruition. The INEC, the newly deployed INEC commissioner there, REC, is alleged to not just to be an associate of the former governor of River State, but also a cousin. The newly deployed police commissioner is also reported in that This Day report to also be an associate. So those states may have become the first test battleground where the former River State governor is bringing forth his threats to PDP governors. You remember that Obaseki was among those governors that urged, that gave support to Governor Simi Fubara. Now, besides that, I want to say that elections in this country is, as when we go to say peace, we are signing a peace treaty, a peace agreement. Is election a war? Election should be a place, election should be a forum or a platform and an activity for a contest of ideas. And that is not what we are seeing in Edo State. We want to see the party candidates come out to debate. We want to hear the candidates bring out their blueprints for development, relate to one another. Just yesterday, we were talking about Kamala Harris and President Trump having a debate. You remember it was at the first presidential debate. Biden opted out because he was generally seen by Americans not to be full of ideas, not to have the ideas to carry America into the next generation. But that is not what we are seeing in Edo State and in Nigeria. We need to see the candidates come out to express themselves, come out to debate, come out to bring out that, not this kind of gangsterism that we are having. For whatever Obaseki may have his own idea, whatever Obaseki is saying, Governor Obaseki is saying now, it is based on the fact that a number of his officials and associates in the PDP are being arrested by the police. So he is now saying that the police have now become a party to the election, in the sense that PDP officials and associates of the governor are being taken away from Edo State to Abuja. And that is a concern to any neutral observer and to the governor, to the Abdulsalami Peace Committee.
Yeah, all right. Let's look at the Punch. They also have the story on flood. It says Borno flood, 1 million persons affected, 414,000 displaced. Death toll hits 30. Victims sleep on streets. NEMA opens 9 IDP camps. Bayelsa also flooded after downpour. I think one of the papers also has a story saying that there could be an outbreak of diseases. At the top mast, we'll have how governors spend 50 billion excess crude funds. It's coming from the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. Mpox outbreak spreads to 23 states. Marketers, refiners demand total subsidy removal. And then just there you see the picture of soldiers trying to save those who are affected by the flood. But this is an interesting story. Hunger protesters get 100 million naira bail bad from further demonstrations. Can you help us understand this? Does it mean that the constitution no more reigns supreme in the country? Because from what I know, protests are a part of democracy.
Well, the Constitution especially makes provision that every Nigerian has a right to express himself. Every Nigerian also has a right to free assembly. So what the court is doing now, it's a little bit, it's funny, in the sense that people are protesting over hunger, and you are not giving them, where are they going to get the money?
100 million.
100 million naira for 10 of them.
10, that is each 10 million.
Each 10 million naira. I can tell you, there is biting hunger in the land. I drive in here, seeing pickups. Pickups are ordinarily meant for transport of goods. But now pickups have become, in Abuja, a viable mode of transportation. You see ladies, finely dressed ladies, jumping onto pickups. It's worrying, it's saddening. I believe that the administration should rethink its ideas in engaging the civil society. They should rethink the idea. They should rethink their strategy in confronting the issues on ground. Violence, applying violence, state power, state force upon the citizenry will not be helpful at this time. You need to engage. People are saying they are hungry. How do you alleviate the hunger in the land? I think that is what we expect from the president and from the respective governors.
Okay, let's take a look at New Telegraph. Also, that big headline on flood, NCDC warns of possible disease outbreak in Borno and other states as flood cuts off 5 Kaduna communities. Pandef telling the federal government living in protect those that are living in flood plains. Other stories making the front page of New Telegraph this morning. Just at the bottom there, an open letter to the president. There's need to tell Tinubu that Nigerians are suffering. This is from Gani Adams. Also,
and it says he stands by his words.
Yeah, of course. It's an open letter to the president. Everyone has read the letter. Now, 20 aspirants for Kano local government poll failed drug test. This is from the NDLEA. NLC Faults report says Ajaro, their leader, did not disregard DSS invitation. And a very interesting story that should really strike a chord with every Nigerian is from the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF. It says 47 million children live in households with income below national poverty line. Lots of stories to discuss in New Telegraph. Let's talk about the flood, NCDC warning of possible disease outbreak, and also link it to this UNICEF story. You see, when we have issues like this, flood, insecurity, it leads to people being displaced, people losing their job, people losing their businesses, people losing their farms. And then it trickles down to households not being able to care for their children, not being able to put food on the table. This UNICEF report says at least nearly half of children in Nigeria are growing up in households earning less than 375 naira per day. This cannot buy a loaf of bread, I believe. So just imagine it then going further to provide for healthcare, education, school fees and what have you.
Accommodation.
So it's just a lot to unpack here, Mr. Ezekiel.
Well, it's saddening, and you know, I think it was yesterday we were discussing here that the GDP, Nigeria's GDP, has, in dollar terms, has nosedived. There is real poverty and there is poverty in the land. I think it is for the administration and for government to re-strategize its efforts to boost the productive base so that everyone, especially the low income earners, can have some respite. We want government to, one would call on the administration to, especially, it's not just palliative, because this idea of throwing palliatives, it doesn't work. Boost the productive base. Be more sincere and cut the running cost of government, of governance. I think that is what we need. We need government to have more empathy towards the people. And talking about the flood in Borno, one will commend the administration for bringing its efforts towards addressing the pitiable situation on ground there. But one would want I think I want the president to also visit there. I want the president.
Well, his vice has gone
his
there.
vice is there, but he needs to be there. You remember there was this in the 90s. There was this in the United States. One of the hurricanes. I think it cost one of the presidents almost cost him his job. He did because he didn't go on time. He didn't go there. He didn't go on time.
I think just more than even going there on time or going there late or the president going there, I think what's more important is that by the time raining season comes next year, we should not be seeing this.
Yeah.
Or at least it should be drastically reduce the amount of floods that we've seen this year and the amount of destruction that is caused. I think that's even the most important.
But this was almost like a God-made.
It wasn't. It was a dam.
Because of excessive rain.
Exactly. And if you don't have
so
great systems of
to block. The most important thing is let there be a plan, at least a plan, when to at least, if not totally, ameliorate the extent of the damage that the floods will cause when they come. All right, let's look at The Guardian. By the way, Adams was telling the president in that letter that maybe the people with you in government are not telling the truth.
That's true.
That people are really suffering. And he talked about despotism. He likened things happening to, as the president, to remember what happened with Hitler and all that. He spoke quite openly to the president because his people are talking to him, so he has to tell the president the truth if those around him are not telling him the truth, that the people are really wallowing in poverty. The Guardian, this is a really expose the policing. Amid lean resources, FG spends 131 billion subsidizing VIP's protection yearly. Of the 400,000 policemen in the country, almost half, 150,000 officers, are attached to VIPs and unauthorized persons. I think you should take that. I mean, there are other stories there, but let's just address that. Let's just look at that.
That story is quite revealing. Out of about 378,000 policemen enlisted in the Nigerian police, 150,000, representing, I think, about, that should be about 40%, are devoted to protecting VIPs and big men. It tells you the extent to which the Nigerian state looks at the common citizenry. The United Nations, I think based on United Nations recommendations, one policeman should supervise, we should have a ratio of one policeman to about 450 persons. So based on that prescription, we should have nothing less than 2.5 million policemen in Nigeria for a population of about 206 million. But we have far less than that, which is, and out of what we have, you are taking 40% for regime protection. 40%. This is besides DSS, besides other peripheral security agencies. So, which tells us that the Nigerian state is officially hostile to the citizenry. You want a police, and the amount that is even spent on these people.
131 billion.
131 billion. That's why you see, in fact, almost every policeman wants to go to that VIP section You see them, they're always clothed, fine uniforms, shining, looking robust. And, you know, that's why they'll go anywhere, and to any length to ensure the security of the people they protect. And what we call on Asiwaju to please redress this thing. We should put more boots on ground. Because if you have enough policemen policing the ground, policing the territory, we will not have these issues of banditry and such.
And insecurity
will be generally addressed. I give you an example. In that report, you see that in Katsina, there's a local government that has just about 39 policemen, and out of those 39 policemen, they have only eight guns. Out of those 8 guns, only 5 are serviceable. So you can imagine if bandits were to come, how would they confront them? So I think the Nigerian state needs to rejig itself, especially in terms of security. We need more policemen. That we should,
and then to withdraw even these ones from where they are and do the real policing job.
Let's take a look at the Vanguard, our final national daily quickly. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, is weighing in on the current downstream oil crisis. They're saying, look, protect the poor from the impact of petrol price hike. So the IMF basically is saying that, look, the floor pricing is not reflecting the true market dynamics, but they are focusing on the social safety net that Nigerians can get. They are urging the federal government to basically just accelerate and strengthen some of the programs that should protect vulnerable citizens. Mr. Azikin, what are your thoughts?
Well, I would like to call out the IMF. They are speaking with 2 mouths.
When I saw that, I was wondering, you know.
IMF is calling on the government to protect the citizenry, provide more safety nets. But it is the same policy prescriptions of the IMF
that has provoked this situation.
So it's ironic. It's a conflict of policies. I think what the government should do, we've always said it, the twin policies of free floating of the naira and removal of fuel subsidy, they are the policies that have brought us to this state, to this condition. You cannot free float your currency. No, even China is a managed float. Even China, because I think probably is in the Guardian too there, about our our exports. Exports, we've had an increased amount of the export process in dollar terms, that we now have a surplus in trade. Not essentially because...
Since depreciation weakens import, trade surplus hits 6.95 trillion naira in Q2.
Not essentially because of quality or content, but because of devaluation. So, like, a devaluation is supposed to incentivize and is supposed to stimulate exports. But in this case, it is not, because those who are supposed to export, those who are the productive base of the economy is shrinking because of energy cost, because of insecurity. Farmers cannot go to... So what are you going to export? So it's just the few that are exporting now, because the value in naira terms is increasing, not necessarily in dollar terms. So government should not... so when people clap for government because we are exporting more in terms, or we have turned to... the trade of balance is now in the surplus, it doesn't mean it's just because the naira has been weakened. It's almost useless. Look at the Benin. Just a few years ago, we used to laugh at them. That with 1 naira you can get about 1,000 CD. Now it's almost, the CD is
at par.
It's almost at par.
So this is Ghana.
CFA. CFA.
All right, let's go. Okay, let's go regional before we go fully international, and then you have the daily graphic from Ghana. More groups rise against Galamsey. That's the question of their mining there. But Farmgate cocoa price soars. This is quite interesting. They're encouraging farmers to do more farming. It says the government has increased the price of cocoa beans paid to cocoa farmers at the farm gate to 48,000 Ghana cedis per ton for 2024-25 season. It used to be, with a target to purchase about 650,000 tons. It used to be 20,000, am I right, here before? Yeah, 20,000 plus. But now government is increasing it. The Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Brian Achimbong, who announced this at the press conference in Accra yesterday, said the price, margins, rates and fees took effect, is taking effect. That's quite interesting. They're encouraging farmers so they can go to farm and so they can have more food. Very interesting. They've doubled the amount they are paying to cocoa farmers, and that is to encourage farmers to produce more. And what will interest you is that Nigeria also used to be a cocoa producing nation. Yeah. Do you know what? If you read, I think it's the Guardian, I saw it. The Guardian, budget. Budget, you know budget? Yep. Budget made a revelation, or Shehu Onibide, the co-founder of Budget, revealed that Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria had a budget, is budgeting about 250 million naira to buy motorcycles, for solar street lights in Lagos, and other millions to provide motorcycles for people in rivers and a number of other states. An institute that was set up to stimulate cocoa, to stimulate the production of cocoa in Nigeria, is now into street lights because our legislators want to divert money. This National Assembly, they are hopeless. Easy. What? It's painful. That is a distraction. That is off purpose. It's off purpose. What you're set up for, you're not doing it. And then you're doing it. You are providing street light, motorcycles, empowerment, welfare schemes to legislators. This is a way for them to divert or to divert money to their constituencies. Yep.
Mr. Azikan, let's quickly move on to the UK papers that we have this morning. We have the Guardian UK, the Times. They have basically the same big headline focusing on the healthcare sector. Thousands on the Guardian UK. Thousands dying due to NHS delays. That's an inquiry found that out. Prime Minister responds to Daman report by saying, look, the service must now reform or die. There's been long delays in hospitals, GP and mental health services, leading to thousands of unnecessary deaths and have ruptured the social contract between the NHS and the people. The Times also has that disturbing story, Labour orders big NHS reform in history, pledging to defund unproductive hospitals, waiting lists and cancer delays kills thousands. This is a big project for the quietly new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. NHS issues is not today that we've been talking about it. It's been a long time coming, and he's saying, look, now, if we don't focus on this reform, it's going to die. What are your thoughts, Mr. Azikan?
Well, it's interesting because for a government that is just coming into office, embarking on this kind of reform shows the priority it's given to the health of the citizenry. And the Prime Minister must be commended. And one thing he did say is that if they do not carry out these reforms, the NHS will die. You understand? And what is it? Because this study, from what a glimpse I've had, they've been able to identify that hospitals, revenue, funds are being channeled to hospitals that do not need them. And besides that, they've been able to identify, and that is quite commendable, that several people have died. Thousands have died because of waiting. Because of the long waiting list. Yeah. So because of these delays, the fact that this study has been able to unearth this development, and the government is now fully tackling it, is a commendable move, and one would encourage the government there to please carry out these recommendations to the letter. All right, that's all. Consider Trump in damage control mode after Harris' debate. He's not committing yet to another debate. The camp of Trump rattled, but Trump is saying, I won the debate, so there's no need for another one. We'll see what gives. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Ziken. That's all we have for you on Daybreak this morning. I am Ndi Amogu, thanking you for watching. Next, the morning show comes up at 8. And as you know, every day indeed does matter here on Arise News.
Good morning, I'm Kichi Nana.